Okay, we are live. This is the Appropriations Committee meeting for October 18th, 2020. The meeting is being called to order at 2:09 p.m. Okay, so let's go into opening roll, starting with Senator Takor.
Here.
Okay, present. We are going to Senator Thang, who is not present, and at this time it is a unexcused absence. Okay, we are now going to Senator Sarwar.
Here.
All right, Senator Hilkert.
Here.
Both present, and Tanner McCracken, I am present. We do have a non-committee member who is present today. We have Deputy Comptroller Adam Ortiz, and we are very happy to have him here. He's going to help us walk through the financial literacy handbook and also answer any questions about the comptroller's policies and financial policy. So thank you for being here. And you can reflect that in the minutes, Ranking Member Takor. You could just put non-committee member present is Deputy Comptroller Ortiz. Okay. We are now going to the approval of the minutes. So can I get a motion to approve last meeting's minutes, October 11th?
Motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
Okay, there's a motion from Senator Takor. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Senator Sarwar. Any objections? Seeing none, no objections, the minutes are approved. We're now going into public comment. Is there any public comment for this afternoon? Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, if you do want to say a few words, now would be a good time.
Yes, I would like to say something, guys. If you haven't, I believe I've received everyone's NEN ID, and I believe everyone's taking the test. But if you haven't, please take the test after this presentation by Chairman McCracken. And yeah, if you have any questions, reach out to me or my assistants or Comptroller James, and we'll take care of you guys. All right.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so I just want to say, I don't think anyone else on the committee has taken the test. So if someone has, other than me, speak up now during public comment. Okay, so yeah, that's why. So yeah, so they haven't taken it yet. So there's a good thing that you're here, Deputy Comptroller. And you don't have to put what I said, Ranking Member Takor, in the you don't have to put that. Okay, a lot of what the presiding officer says doesn't actually go in the minutes. Okay, so with that, thank you for that public comment. We're now going to the chair's report, myself. So what I have to report to the committee is the 3 forms have been live. They've been live for about 2 weeks now. And also tutorial videos on how to complete 2 of the forms are up. They're live. I said this during Senate, but 20-minute videos of me going through how to fill out an appropriations form. And additionally, I am working with the marketing department in the executive branch to get a flyer out. The most recent flyer they sent me, I approved of it, and I'm just going to work with them this next coming work week to get that blasted, because I'm a little nervous because we've received 0 submissions, which I figured because of the pandemic we were going to see this, but I did not think it was going to be 0, especially for our new unfunded groups. So I really need help from SA for a full, PR blast. So I'm really going to push hard for that this week. We have our new ranking member. We have Senator Takor, who's been approved by the Senate, and I'm really excited for what he'll do in this position. I know that he's learning the ropes. So obviously, if things are going to move fast and, especially in upcoming meetings, minutes may be tough, but he's got my full support. I know he'll only get better every meeting we go. So this is his first meeting taking minutes. I know I just said my report really fast, but I am going to yield to him now for the ranking members report. Senator Takor, whenever you get the chance, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman McCracken. No report.
Wow. Well said by our new ranking member. There's no report. And are there any questions for either my report or the ranking member's report? I see claps. Any questions? Okay, seeing that, I would ask that one other thing is reflected in my report. Ranking Member Takor, just put that my new attendance policy for the Appropriations Committee is no more than 3 excused absences in a semester and no more than 1 unexcused absence in a semester. So if you reach 4, but they all have an excuse, that's no good. And if you reach over 2 with no excuse, that's no good. And me and the vice chair have decided upon this. And if you go over that policy, it could lead to removal from the committee. Also, speaking of things that could lead to your removal, not passing the exam. So let's keep going down our business. So appropriations business, no business. Unfinished business, there is no unfinished business. We are going to new business, okay? And we're going to do the financial literacy handbook study session. So basically what this is going to be is I'm going to pull up the handbook, and depending on how much help you guys need, I will go into great detail into a lot of the sections and kind of tell you what's important to know as a committee member and also what's important to know for the exam, because it is a Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, I'll yield to you. How many questions is it? Is it 25? I forgot now.
Yeah, no. So essentially, it was supposed to be. Well, I had written up a template test of like 40 questions, but it's about like 25, 21. I'm not gonna tell you guys. I'm not gonna tell the committee members until you guys actually take it. But it's in the 20s. Definitely nothing that's because with us being off campus as well as all implications of COVID-19, we don't necessarily know where all the signatory offices are at in terms of many avenues of just daily life. So Comptroller James made sure that the literacy of it wasn't too advanced for a signatory officer not to understand.
Cool, and I'm sorry, I apologize for disclosing the estimated amount of questions. I won't get into that. I just wanted to just say that it is a extensive exam that does cover the front to cover of this handbook. So does any committee member want to be heard on how confident they're feeling about the contents of this handbook? I know we're all full-time students, and if you haven't reviewed it, just let me know and be honest. So I will yield to whoever committee member wants to be heard. Go ahead.
Could you repeat that?
How confident are you with the financial literacy handbook?
Point of personal privilege.
Yeah, Senator Zakor?
Am I supposed to be writing this down?
Yes. If anyone does have something to say, yes. You don't have to put that I'm asking for it, but you could just put discussion, and then what people say.
Follow up.
Yeah, go ahead. Another point of personal privilege. Go ahead.
Is this going underneath financial literacy handbook study session?
Yes.
Thank you.
So just indent it, of course, just indent it to 1. And yeah, and then for any point of orders or point of personal privileges that isn't yours, write it down. Like if you make a point of personal privilege about the minutes, you don't have to put that. But if you make like a point of order because I'm not following the rules, put that. Or if someone else does something. But for those point of personal privileges, you don't have to put that down. Put that down. So does any senator want to be heard about how they feel about the handbook? Just so I know before I get into it. Okay, Senator Sarwar, how are you feeling? Be honest. I don't care. Just tell me if you have read through it or skimmed it.
I skimmed over it.
Good man. Okay, Senator Hilkert?
Looking forward to the test. Haven't looked at it yet or looked at the material yet, but I look forward to doing that, and we'll do so soon.
Great. That's a great statement. Looking forward to the test. It had a positive tone to it. I love that. Ranking Member Takor, be honest with me.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I was looking over it, but obviously I can study it more.
Okay, cool. So that means that I'll go into pretty good detail into things that are really important. So let's get into it. And now you could put this in the minutes, Senator Takor. I am yielding the floor indefinitely for this section of the agenda to Deputy Comptroller Ortiz. So if he's ever called on, or I call on him, or he just wants to jump in, he has the indefinite floor for this agenda item. So, but in order for that to happen, can I get a motion from a committee member for that to happen?
Motion to
You can just say motion as long as you
Motion.
have it written down.
motion.
Motion from Senator Takor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Senator Hilkert. Any objections? Okay. So, Senator Takor, what did you write down for the motion?
Senator Takor motions, seconded by Senator Sarwar, and that's all.
Okay, did you, so for motions, put this, ready? Senator Decor motions to yield the floor to Deputy Comptroller Ortiz indefinitely for the remainder of this agenda item.
And then comma, seconded by,
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then no objections. Okay, cool. So now from this point on, Senator Decor, but you can go clean stuff up because we're not actually for the handbook. I'm just gonna put the handbook in the minutes from this point. Okay. So welcome everybody. This is the financial literacy handbook. And if you want to, Deputy Comptroller James, just give a brief overview of the importance of it. You don't have to get into any specific content, but just what is the financial literacy handbook? What is it for? What does it cover?
So the financial literacy handbook is essentially the guide to the fiscal operations pertaining to signatory officers that the comptroller writes to, in this year's case, his discretion. Now, obviously what's in the handbook are persistent to our 500 section bylaws. I believe that in the handbook that Chairman McCracken put together, he did include some 500 section bylaws, but I would heavily recommend that you guys read all of them. Last year I went through them all under Comptroller Kelly, and they do get tricky, but that's what we're here for, the SAOC, and essentially this will give you everything you need to know to pass the test, as well as what the viewpoint, well, they weren't present at the Board of Finance meeting with Ray, right, Tan?
No, Senator Decor was.
Okay, so you guys, some of you may see the definition of viewpoint neutrality for the first time in this handbook. That is our go-to in terms of the SAOC for any decisions that we make. And I believe that it's also in the bylaws defined. So I definitely recommend you guys read the handbook, and let's get into it.
Yep, let's go. Thank you for that. So basically, we're going to go into it. Something that's very important to realize something. This is written for student groups. This is written for treasurers. This is written for presidents of student groups on how to basically, use their finances through purchase requests. What are the policies that they're stuck by? So that's something that as senators, you need to be mindful of. The reason we need to know this is because of our own bylaws. It was actually a bylaw passed in 2018. And people felt as if the first appropriations committee I was ever on was failing. We were failing terribly on everything we were doing. And I didn't know it because I was so new on it. But basically, one of the reactions to it was we don't even know, some committee members don't even know what it's like to put in a PR or appropriations request. Why are they the ones receiving it? So that's why we were mandated to take it. It used to be called the Treasurer's Handbook, but I believe Comptroller Kelly was the one who changed it to the Financial Literacy Handbook. Okay, so we do have to pass it, but that doesn't mean it's made for us. It's still made for student groups. So this outlines the treasurer's responsibilities and what they do for their club. It's pretty normal. They are the chief financial officer of their respective club, okay? And they keep their financial records. They submit purchase requests. We'll get into that. But just know that they don't sign contracts. And that's very important, that the president and the comptroller of the student association sign the contracts, because if a student group signs a contract that was not authorized by SA, they could be fiscally responsible for paying that contract, which is a terrible, terrible thing. So anyway, let's see. And then for the next year, they are responsible for submitting the group's budget proposal. Okay? Moving on, everything they do with finances is on my involvement. And by the way, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, if you have anything you want to jump in on, come on in. I will yield to you when I feel as if I can't explain something well, but at any time, just jump in. Okay? So anyway, everything with their finances happens on my involvement, including the appropriations form that they do use. And they have accounts. So depending on what the group is, they may have more accounts than others. I know that 5 Quad has a lot of accounts, and that's just the nature of the organization. But the main one is your budget allocation line and then their income line. Their budget allocation line is what Senate gives during the budget season. So it's basically all the student activity fee money that we collect, we distribute it out. That's where they have it. Income is money they make from events and fundraisers. And we will get into income and how quickly they have to deposit it. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that I don't believe it's detailed in the handbook, but only the comptroller can transfer funds from an organization's lines to another. Only the comptroller can give that discretion. So that may be something you guys may want to keep in mind if a signatory officer asks you guys by chance, can we purchase something that's not necessarily in our budget? That's more or less something the comptroller would handle.
Exactly. And that's something that we're going to have to touch on a lot here is where we play a role in this, because as appropriations chair, I get a lot of questions from student groups that I simply cannot answer. And that's just the nature of what we do is the budget, once it's dealt out, we have nothing to do with that. All we do is add to current budgets. And even for new and unfunded orgs, they're coming for their first budget, but that budget cannot break the policy of the comptroller's office. Okay. So income is also something that is interesting because you can do things with your income line that you can't do with your budget allocation line. Like you can make donations with an income line. The reason for that, you can't make donations with student activity fee money. Okay? They show kind of what it looks like for treasurers and, what your available funds are, what your balance is. This is all on my involvement. And then very important here, purchase requests. This is what you submit to buy something. So here's the life of a PR, and it's got 6 bullet points. And I will yield to the deputy comptroller, kind of walk us through the life of a PR, because I know this is very important to understand. Go ahead.
Yes. So essentially, the purchase request timeline last year was 3 weeks. This year, it's 4 weeks due to COVID implications. However, one PR that takes longer than the 4 weeks would be a reimbursement, and that's because of the election process that's currently going on. The Postal Service isn't necessarily able to cut the check fast enough and send it within our window that is on the handbook. So the reimbursement process could take upwards of 6 weeks, 5 weeks, or at least until the Postal Service is more efficient than what it is currently. With the purchase request, we do recommend that organizations send us in the subject line what it is that they are looking to do in terms of their fiscal abilities. But most of the time, they just submit the purchase request, and that's why we recommend to send to us so it's more or less expedited if it is time sensitive. That is the comptroller's discretion. But regardless, minimum of 3 to 4 weeks is what we ask for, and only the comptroller can approve PRs until possibly another date. But yes, I'm here to answer any other questions. But that's kind of like the rundown. I'm more than willing to go into more detail with you guys on a one-on-one during my office hours.
Cool. And if anyone wants to ask any questions during this time, just call out and say you have a question, and I will recognize you. So don't just feel like it's at the end, at any point during. Okay. So as you can see, you submit the PR. It should be with someone with signatory power, preferably the treasurer. There is a time the president has to submit the PR, and that is when the treasurer is in need of a reimbursement. So if the treasurer buys something and then wants that reimbursed with the budget, the treasurer cannot submit a PR to give themselves a reimbursement. Someone else has to. That's mostly the reason why the president has to have that signatory power in most cases. Okay, so then it's reviewed by the comptroller, and if it's approved, it's sent to the Office of Student Activities, and then it's reviewed by the ACT manager. If it's approved, it's sent back, and then it's transacted in my involvement. Once it is, it goes to UAS, and this is, I believe, the bulk of the process is UAS processing it. And it says 4 to 7 business days. Now you think about 4 to 7 business days, that could be a long time. And depending on what business day it's submitted on, that could be 3 weeks, theoretically, okay? And then once the check is sent, which is something else the deputy comptroller was hitting on, that's also taking long. The status of the PR is changed to completed. So the student group can always see the status on their My Involvement. Something that's really important, if this is how long a PR is, take into consideration how long an appropriations request is. So if a group comes with an event in the next month to us, it's going to be late because they're coming to us for more money for an event that's in a month. And then that's going to take 2 weeks to even get through appropes because I have to receive it, meet on Sunday, get it to Senate on Wednesday. The president signs around Thursday, Friday. The comptroller by Friday starts to work to even put it in the account. That could take a really long time. So that's something that we need to remember is if a student group comes to you, I'm thinking about this idea, tell them it's better to go early than to go late. That's something huge to tell your constituents. Okay, so this shows how to create a purchase request, and there's a lot of things you have to add. You have to add the subject, the amount, the description. Oh, this is huge right here. The Student Association is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we do not pay tax on any purchase. So when a student group puts in an amount, same with our appropriations requests. If they put in an amount that takes tax into consideration, that cannot go towards the approved amount. We need to cut tax from those requests, okay? Moving on, you have to write a description. It shouldn't be crazy long. They also have to write a description for appropriations requests. And then here's a bunch of ways they can buy this item. So you have the contractual agreement, credit card, donation, purchase, no PO, purchase, PO required, and a reimbursement. Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, do you want to go into any of these?
Yeah, I can go into them. So essentially, there are certain things that we are not able to give reimbursements for, and those are more or less stuff that don't relate to the mission statement or the constitution of an organization. However, there are some times where a organization purchases something and they would like to get reimbursed for it, but they didn't notify the comptroller, and the comptroller has the discretion of whether or not to give out the reimbursement. But recently, there's it is up to the discretion of the comptroller, and I can give a example. During my office hours on Thursday, Chris Regina, he is the treasurer of 5 Quad. He came in and he was asking for a reimbursement, but they more or less didn't ask the comptroller if they could get reimbursed for it. However, it was something that was contingent to their necessary operations, and the comptroller did specify that in special situations he's willing to give reimbursements to organizations for certain reasons that wouldn't apply to other orgs. So reimbursements do vary on the discretion of the comptroller. PO, it's a simple PO, no PO. They're both they're relatively simple. It only has to get approved by the comptroller, and it has to make sense. A donation, allocated SA funds cannot be donated unless it's coming from the income line or it's approved by the comptroller. And then credit card, we honestly do not use the credit card in situations that are time contingent. They're more or less for things that we cannot purchase without a credit card because of obvious situations. That policy had to change. And then a contract agreement, like Chairman McCracken has stated, only the president and the comptroller can sign on behalf of the Student Association.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. Perfect. And I love how you went from bottom up. That's great. So I think it's very important what you hit on. This reimbursement shouldn't be the go-to. You should be putting these purchase requests in way beforehand. So that was huge. And then, for Sodexo, this is really important as well. This is for food. They have their own policies, and you must go to them 3 weeks in advance to even get a quote. And then the quote, once you get it, you have to put in that PR with no later than 72 hours because Sodexo's prices could change. It's very fluid, so that's important to put. Okay, so the payee information goes right here. If it's a person, put it in. If it's a company, I think you put it on the you put it on the first name section. So if it's a company that you're paying, you put it there. Okay, keep going. Yes, the invoice or receipt date is mandatory, and you need if you have an invoice, you have to provide one. And that's something that's important for the Appropriations Committee too, is you have to provide proof that you're going to buy this. Once you get that money authorized, from the Appropriations Committee, they could go on and buy other stuff with it. We need to see cold, hard numbers and facts to know that this is the money that they actually need for the item that they actually need. So we require that on this committee as well. Okay, let's see if there's anything about the checks that we have to mention. Yep, I mean, UAS cuts the checks, and I think it's very important for student groups to understand that sometimes payees are going to have to wait a while to get that check, because some groups have to explain that they are a group within a student government that has their own bureaucratic process. Okay, going on, there's options to upload files and documentation. So you have to put in, let's see if I can do a zoom in. Did that work? Team, did that zoom in? Can you guys see that? Okay. So flyer documentation of the event, and then there's the upload file for the invoice. Okay. Going on, here we go. Your budget and appropriations. So here we are. We're mentioned in the handbook. We're famous. Okay. So the clubs are not allowed to have outside bank accounts. That's number one. You are given an account through the student association. The student association has your money. You have to request to use your money through the student government. Okay. So the budget's made by the Board of Finance, approved by Senate, and signed by the president. So that's something that's important to understand. If a student group comes in, okay, and they're upset about the amount of money they have and they're looking for more, it's not our fault. Okay. It is the Senate and the Board of Finance's responsibility to set it up. If they come to us saying they're upset with the amount of money, that's something that happened in the past. What we can do is add on top of what they were given. Okay. So if you do have a budget, you come through supplemental funding. If you don't have a budget, and I've explained this to you guys already, you have a new and unfunded line, and it could be a new budget for a new student group. Okay, it does say $250 a semester here, and I did pass the bylaw fixing it so it said $400. But since the handbook says $250, if this is mentioned on the test, make sure you put $250. Even though the answer right now on October 18th is $400, the handbook says $250 because that's what it was. Okay? All appropriations requests must be sent to our committee, and then it has to be approved by us and the Senate. And then the form is available on the My Involvement page, which I set up myself as chair. And then the Office of the Comptroller will deposit the money into an account once it's gotten approved by the committee, the Senate, and signed by the president. Okay? So that is something that I've told you guys, but this is the student group side of understanding how we fall into that role. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Because we're now moving on to section 3, which is the last section. Okay. Income in making deposits. This is super important. I know I mentioned it before, but if you make income at an event, you have to deposit it into your income line account. Okay. So Deputy Comptroller James, or not James, Ortiz, if you want to
Ortiz, let me say something, guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if a group asks if they can deposit into like a third party, like, payment service, we'll say like Zelle or like, via crypto or anything like that, that's a big no-go. It has to be deposited at the SA office,
Yeah, that's great. That's very important. And there's actually a timeline for that. And I'm trying to see. Oh, there it is. You got to put it in within 24 hours of the end of the fundraiser or the event. Okay. So, if your event falls on a weekend when the UAS office is closed, got to contact the office of the comptroller and make sure it's kept safely until it's deposited. Also, this is highlighted. It's also very important if you're selling tickets for your event, university tickets. Okay, so prior approval, these things need approval 3 weeks in advance from the office of the comptroller. Am I reading that correctly, Deputy Comptroller? That if you have any
Yes. Prior approval by the comptroller.
Cool. So yeah, if you're doing anything of this sort, so I'm assuming if you do this and then you're asking for a reimbursement, the comptroller's office is going to be upset because you should have got prior approval. Correct?
Yeah, if you do this and you didn't ask for the comptroller's okay, you're not getting a reimbursement. Most likely, maybe. I mean, it would go against what's in this handbook if that was to happen. But Comptroller James is very straight to the point and transparent. We preach transparency to the SAOC. And these need prior approval. They can always email me and I can get it right to Isaiah. But you got to make that first step and reach out to the office. Don't allow if an officer wants to just go straight for something like this, tell them to go to the comptroller's office because they'll save time.
And make sure, senators, and the deputy comptroller is exactly right. Make sure you tell your constituents that the comptroller office is extremely responsive, especially if you email Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, SA Deputy 1 at albany.edu, or if you reach out, I know the assistant comptrollers just got their own emails. If you reach out to those individuals in the office, you're going to get a response. And I know that Deputy Comptroller Ortiz is committed to quick response and being helpful. Even if he doesn't have the answer right away, always gets back to you. So that's really important. This is not, in order to get prior approval, you just have to reach your hand out, and we're always going to try our best to get the answer. So here's some examples. Just study this, guys, and, gifts and awards, you know what I mean? No gift cards, but in terms of other gifts and awards, you got to get prior approval. Same with senior gifts, apparel. This is really important. So anything apparel, you got to get that checked. And also in terms of appropriations requests, if I get a request through the form about apparel, I'm going to go to the comptroller's office before I accept or deny that form. This is also something for us to live by. And then anything with a credit card needs prior approval. Okay, cool. And then if you're going to send an email, this is what you have to put. If you're, again, when I'm saying you, I mean if you are a student group signatory. So the credit card does not leave the office. It now does not leave the UAS office.
It's not, to my knowledge, it's not in the office.
Yeah, so
that's what I'm told. I'm not sure where it is. I just know it's not in the office. It's supposed to be a Mo. It's supposed to be a Mo of UAS.
Okay, so in that case, check this out, guys. I mean, if we don't know where it is, that's a good thing. Because last year, some people always knew where it was. Okay, that's on the record. Okay, I don't care. All right, so I'm proud with my vote. Anyway, let's see. Okay. Yes, so in order to use the credit card, you do need to reach out to the comptroller. And what is it used for? Well, hotels, number one, because most hotels are going to need that credit card. So again, I know Comptroller James has been more on this than past comptrollers. I know 2 years ago, we had a huge comptroller office debacle where they maxed out the credit card, and a bunch of orgs, most notably College Democrats, because they were very loud at the next Senate meeting, were not able to go on their trips because they needed to stay in hotels, and the credit card was maxed out. And what blows my mind now is SA is way more professional now and more diligent than it was 2 years ago. Did you know there was not an investigation into the comptroller's office into how this happened? The Board of Finance did not investigate. It just happened, and that was it. So it's cool talking about SA history, because it's like you think about the things that happen now compared to like the comptroller's office, like neglecting the duty of they were getting lazy. They were just using the credit card for everything, and they maxed it out. So I think it's really interesting to see kind of the evolution of SA's diligence. So anyway, also, this is huge. SA does not pay for expedited shipping, and receipts, they must be delivered to the office of the comptroller when it comes to, especially, I know you need a physical receipt for reimbursements. Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, what is the policy with the pandemic right now with receipts? Has that been changed?
Yeah, so essentially there isn't there's an ability for them to upload documentation with the purchase request system. Comptroller Kelly more or less helped the Office of the Comptroller by structuring a system that allows us to digitally collect receipts. And however, last year I was still retaining physical receipts. We do still have signatory officers drop off physical receipts, and my assistants or myself or even Comptroller James, we still collect them. But we more or less understand that there are some there's actually many signatory officers who are not even on campus or in Albany in general. So we go ahead and we Comptroller James has approved them to submit digital receipts essentially.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you. And then that goes right along with reimbursements. It's always a good idea to talk to the SAOC before you buy stuff with your own money, but student groups can do it. Here's the thing with contracts. These are the two things you need, and look at it right here. It says it again. The president, Dami Adesanya, and Isaiah James, the comptroller.
I just want to say something also.
Yeah.
The handbook in itself says, credit card purchases, the receipts from credit card purchases have to be delivered to the Office of the Comptroller. But essentially, they come to the office now because we're the only ones who order with them. So that was more or less to kind of like keep, because there were times where the credit card would leave the office and other individuals would use it. There's only two people who can use the credit card, president and the comptroller. So that's why it's more or less there. But all receipts should end at our desks. That's all I wanted to say, essentially.
Cool. Yeah, and thank you. And it's very helpful, by the way, that we have such a resource here. So please, if anyone in the committee has just any question, even if it seems like a stupid question, I know you've heard this probably, but there's no such thing as a stupid question. So let's keep going. So again, taxes and tax exempt status. We've said it before. I'm saying it again. We don't pay for taxes. Okay? Oh, yeah, sometimes vendors need a tax exempt form. And other times, if it's like a reimbursement, let's say you go to Walmart, you get like ingredients for a pizza. I think you can just take the hit as a student group. Like if you buy I see Senator Takor shaking his head, but yes, if you go and you get a $50 budget of snacks, you're probably gonna what? Pay $3-4 of taxes? Maybe I got my sales tax rates wrong. But anyway, travel, you do travel at your own risk, and meaning, when you go out and you travel and you're getting into a hotel with, SA's own money, you are still traveling, you're at your own risk. And I think I might say it later, but SA does not reimburse gas. Okay, it can pay for buses, it could pay for, a plane, but if you are driving, you're not going to get reimbursed for that gas. Here's with the apparel. No apparel should be customized for individuals, because if it is SA property, and individualizing apparel cannot happen. Okay, it has happened in SA. Okay, but that is just the nature of government, I guess. I will leave it there. I will not say more, but it has happened in the past. It has happened recently, and the only time SA can buy personalized apparel is when personal money is used. Okay, and I am proud to have my Senator McCracken shirt. Very proud. Okay, go ahead, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz.
You have a shirt
From 2 years ago, Chairman Holdridge. Timeout. Chairman Holdridge.
Everyone has merch, man. The directors got their own merch. Everyone, people got their own. I haven't gotten. The best thing I've gotten was a portrait Michelle gave me. Like, where's? I'm gonna stop because I'm getting personal about this, but
that's true.
I feel like some SA merchandise, it'd be good for the marketing, but nothing personalized. That's not acceptable. And I know my comptroller is 100% agrees with me with that as well. Nothing personalized.
Exactly.
These are constituents allocations they've provided to us, but we have to do our undergraduate base well.
Exactly. And I guess I'll go on the record and say what I was referring to was 2 years ago when Chairman Holdridge did it, it was given to us. And I believe we were to put money forward. And I think now, what I'm saying is stuff has been ordered for me in the past. Like there was a Board of Finance sweater for me, but it was used with SA funds, and I symbolically refused to get that merch. So I hear you on that, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz. But if we all put personal money towards something, we could buy whatever the hell we wanted. And I think that's a good idea for all of us to have shirts with our names on it. It's awesome. And it's always been helpful. Walk around the campus center and people can see that I'm a senator. Anyone can come up to us. But in terms of personalized stuff for student groups, no. Okay, spending restrictions. We're not going to buy alcohol or cigarettes. Personal property, no. Anything that you buy that's not going to be like eaten or a venue that you're not going to have anymore. Like if you're buying a piano for a chorus group, even though you bought it for the group and it may be passed down generation by generation, it's still SA's property at the end of the day. And I believe a sticker will reflect that in a lot of cases. Okay, scholarship and tuition. It cannot be used. The student activity fee cannot be used for that. And excessive gift or reward cost, it may not exceed $200 in value. Let's keep going. Excessive food costs. And honestly, us as an appropriations committee, we shouldn't be paying for excessive anything costs, okay? If we have, formal with the budget of a wedding, we are not funding that. And I would hope that my committee would stand against something of that excessive.
I have a question.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Go ahead, Senator Kaur.
So let's say we have a stock trading club at Albany. I assume they're not allowed to use their SA funded money to buy a stock, we'll say. Correct?
I would say no, but I would go to Deputy Comptroller Ortiz for the answer. And Senator Hilkert, I will call on you next.
Could you repeat your question? I didn't really hear you, Senator Dakar.
So we have a stock trading club where they like exchange information or whatnot, and they're interested in that. Would they be allowed to buy stock using SA money, the money that their club has?
The only one who could buy any type of stock is the comptroller. I actually was talking to Comptroller Kelly last year. I don't think Comptroller James is really his attention is focused on much more severe matters because of COVID-19 and contingencies we have to think because this is a referendum year, but essentially you would have to talk to the comptroller with that. I know the comptroller can invest in stocks with SA's money or like buy like property. Obviously, it'd have to go through the Board of Finance before something like that would happen. It's not like the comptroller could just purchase stock, but I wouldn't advise you purchasing any stock or day trading or doing short-term forex, any of that without even discussing. You got to talk to Comptroller James about that. If it makes SA money, and it makes your organization money and it works with the stock trading, that's more or less to the discretion of the comptroller. And I wanted to speak a little bit about something that was in the handbook. The U Albany sanctioned scholarships. Most people just read right over that and they don't necessarily understand what that means. It's not the comptroller's discretion. It's if U Albany essentially co-signs the scholarship. It's sanctioned by U Albany, so the administration, and then the comptroller would basically reach out to them, ask them if they could do that, or the group reaches out to U Albany and then they go to the comptroller. It just more or less depends on the comptroller, but that's what that means. I just wanted to clear that.
Awesome. Senator Hilkert.
I'm just curious, is that allowed? I feel like that might go against Community Rights and Responsibilities Handbook under gambling.
What? Wait, the stocks?
Yeah, like a recognized stock trading group.
We're non-for-profit. We're non-for-profit. So
Okay.
essentially, with our land that we own, like that revenue that's generated from there, it goes back into our account and we divvy out to organizations. He's essentially, since his mission statement is more or less fiscal oriented, it doesn't violate their code of conduct. But I understand what you're saying. That's why I'm saying the comptroller would more or less make that decision. I can't even approve. Last year they told me I'd be able to approve requests under 250. I can't do that. So my job is more or less still in the it's a new position essentially because I'm 2 comptrollers combined, right? So I'm structuring it. I'm raising the bar as high as I can this year. But we can have that Senator Thakar, we can have that conversation one-on-one on Tuesday with the comptroller if you'd like.
Yes.
And Senator Hilkert, am I saying that right? Great concern you brought up. I will discuss that with Comptroller James. I mentioned the last comptroller, so that was where that was from, where the comptroller had stated that that was an ability of the comptroller.
Cool. Thank you for that. And Senator Jakor, if you could put the answer, the question and the answers in the minutes to those 2 questions. You don't obviously have to do verbatim because that's never possible, but if the general answer of the deputy comptroller would be appreciated. Okay, so moving on, this is also something that's also there's Deputy Comptroller Ortiz. Do you want to talk about the approved vendors part of this handbook? Right here.
Yes. Okay, so over the summer, before I was even on like stipend or anything with the Office of the Comptroller, I went ahead and I compiled a list of vendors because our last vendor list only had 2 vendors, right? We use way more than 2 vendors. So I went ahead and I compiled a vendor list of 64 vendors, anything from their emails to their names to the contact person numbers, fax numbers, everything that we would need. And as asked by the president, President Sanya, with Comptroller James' advisement, I tailored it to vendors that do not support President Trump. So those vendors that are on there, all 64 of them don't support President Trump in terms of, I guess, donations, or they just essentially requested for it to take out those vendors. I went through 4,000 PRs, guys, over the summer, and I compiled all the vendors, and I just I can send the vendor list to you guys if you'd like. Just reach out to me, email me, deputy1@albany.edu, and I can get you guys that. It's good to know who exactly we recommend. Actually, who we suggest organizations to reach out to for their services when it comes to matters that pertain to using vendors.
Question from Senator Takor.
I'm sorry, I was typing. Can you repeat that whole thing again?
Sure. I'll actually make it simple. I forget that you're taking minutes. I apologize. Okay. So essentially, the vendor list that's compiled, that I created, under advisement of the comptroller, because I serve under his discretion, was to tailor the vendor list to vendors that do not support President Trump.
Why did we do that? I'm sorry, I mean that this morning, isn't that like, are we allowed to do that?
Follow up. Go ahead.
That
No comment.
Question?
Time out. 1 second. Sorry. Okay. There was a follow-up from Senator Takor. Is why did we do this? And then Deputy Comptroller Ortiz.
I stated this in Senate. I don't think anyone noticed.
No. This is fine. You said it's fine. You said no comment, and now we're going to go to Senator Hilkert with another question. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So, can you come back?
Yes, I can. Okay, so we are now, we're still talking about the financial literacy handbook, but that is a very interesting thing that I did not hear and I did not know about either as a
Yeah, I said it in Senate, like the first Senate meeting.
That's very
Question.
interesting. Question from who said that?
Mason, I'm sorry. What is the correct? If I want to ask a question, what would be the correct way to do that? What?
So in the Appropriations Committee, just unmute and say question, and then you have to wait for me to call on you. So Senator Hilker.
Okay. Could you
Actually, it was
second,
President
time out.
Asanya. I
Time out.
apologize.
And so he's got to ask this question first. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
apologize, Senator Hilliker.
I want to make sure that I have the correct foundational answer. Could you just really quick, like in 2 sentences, summarize what we're right now, what we're discussing, just in 2 sentences?
Okay, the vendor list that I comprised over the summer, while I wasn't on stipend while I was comprising this vendor list, but it is the one that was sent out to directors, and I believe President Asanya has it as well. When I was going through the vendor list on my own, through since 2018, all the way up till present day, from May 13th, 2019 to May 9th, 2020, I was requested by Comptroller Isaiah that President Adesanya did not want to use vendors that supported President Trump. And I don't know to what extent that support meant, but I'm being transparent and I'm telling you guys what was told to me. And I know that I didn't. Actually, that should be public information.
Okay, that's great. Okay, and I see committee members want to be heard. I just want to say, let's remember that Deputy Comptroller Ortiz is a public administrator, and he was told by someone else. So
yeah, I'm a transfer student.
One second. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I will give you the floor, but I can't give it to you yet. I will open this, and Senator Zakor, reflect this in the minutes. We will open an open discussion because I do believe this is actually something that I believe we have interest here. So this is an open discussion. This open discussion means you can say a debate point or ask a question. If you ask a question, whoever you direct it towards does hold the right not to answer. Okay, do we want to use the hand raising feature? Okay, we're going to use the hand raising feature. I will start by calling on, because I know we want to be heard, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, if you do want to say anything. But I will say, if you do want to be called on in the future, you have to raise your hand. But you start.
Thank you, Chairman McCracken. So I just wanted to state that I haven't signed an NDA. I have been pushing for NDA for the SAOC. So what I'm saying wasn't told to me to be confidential. It was more or less a request from my advisor, or more or less the individual who oversees me. See, the Board of Finance and the Comptroller are who I answer to because my position is appointed. It's not based on constituents. So I'm more or less supposed to be neutral for everything I do, viewpoint and neutrality.
Yeah.
And that's something that I strive with last year. However, we did witness an impeachment. So with that being said, we, the finance branch, have been very strict on how we do things in terms to what's required from us. But the CEO, the chief executive officer, essentially is the one who is responsible for the direction of our organization. And because of this, from what was told to me, was that President Adesanya had spoken with Comptroller James and requested for that. And then Comptroller James went to me and asked me to comprise the vendor list and for it to tailor vendors that do not support President Trump.
Okay. So again, I think as presiding officer, I will.
But I'm not saying that I don't support someone and I support. I'm just saying to you guys how the vendor list was comprised.
I get that. No, and I get it. And I was saying, as presiding officer, as we go into this discussion, let's remember that Deputy Comptroller Ortiz put it perfectly. He's in an appointed position that answers, but this is up for discussion. I'm going to start with Senator Hilker, who had his hand up. You can make a debate point or direct a question. Go ahead.
Just like the question. So could you explain to me really quick the purpose of the vendors and the benefit of them?
Of course.
And
Of
can I have an
course.
example of a vendor also?
Yep, Deputy Comptroller, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so a vendor we use all the time is Custom Ink. We do have relations with a number of vendors, and that's why we like to keep our relationships with our vendors, because we're usually going to them on a multitude of times. Now, when it comes to my vendor list that I compiled, I put together vendors that weren't just SA affiliated. I put together Dippy Kill vendor lists. I put together our 5 Quad. I mean, 5 Quad is an organization, but I was more or less looking through the purchase request system from a whole, because we also get GSA, which is Graduate Student Association. It's a student association after RSA. We get those purchase requests, and I even compiled some of those as well, but they're in a different color. I could honestly probably show it to you guys. I could show you guys the vendor list. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but I could do that.
Wait 1 second. Senator Hilkert, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I felt like that.
You can make
Sorry,
it.
I felt like the question wasn't really.
Yeah, I'll answer your question. I wasn't done.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. So the vendors we have relationships with, and we've been working with them for a number of years. And to my understanding, that's why the comptroller decides to use those vendors. I don't have say in what vendors we use.
What is the purpose of vendors, and what is their benefit?
That is the okay. So, question for Senator Hilkert, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Vendors provide us services for fiscal for fiscal appreciation. Vendors provide us services for fiscal appreciation. It's on a business level, but what I told you was more or less what I was told to do.
Okay, there's
Follow-up?
no, you cannot have a third follow-up. You're gonna have to go back on the list. So just raise your hand again. I'm gonna go to Senator Sarwar. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, like, was this something done for other candidates as well, or was it just something done for President Trump? And if so, did that were certain vendors that would have benefited students, like cheaper ones?
So that's 2 questions. So first, Senator Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, you have the right to not answer, but if you do choose to answer, just answer the first question. Was there any other candidates or positions that were directed to you, or was it just President Trump? That's the first question. Go ahead.
I've only been in SA for 2 years. I had the opportunity to join last year as assistant comptroller as a transfer student. To my knowledge, I have no idea. I have no clue.
Okay.
I don't have the previous executive leaders or financial leaders numbers on dial to ask them, hey, did you guys make these decisions against these candidates? But I would love to answer Senator Hilkert's questions.
No,
I actually am very interested into understanding how I can help his understanding of the situation that is arisen.
you can, but we're gonna go back to Senator Sarwar, who does have a follow-up. Senator
I'll just-
Sarwar.
I'm just gonna retract my follow-up.
Okay. So we are now going to go to Senator Hilkert.
Point of personal privilege.
Point of personal privilege from Senator Tafar. Go
I
ahead.
am not getting this all down.
That's fine.
It's recorded.
Am I talking too fast?
No, I mean, it's
It's a lot, and you're right. And so this is recorded. You can come back if you feel like it's not adequate enough to represent this discussion, but this is under discussion, and you can put for quickness QA, QA, QA. You know the A is Deputy Comptroller Ortiz. The Q is a senator. And if the senator would like to ask a question or make a discussion, debate point, they can. And Senator Hilkert is wishing to be heard. So Senator Hilkert, you have the floor.
Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, could you just provide an example of a vendor?
Like a vendor, like a couple vendors? You
Sure.
like a couple vendors? Okay, so like what kind of which organization, like what would 5 Quad do, or
Doesn't matter.
Okay, so we have the Holiday Inn. We use them. We have I believe United Airlines is another one of them that was cleared. Then we have DPKill ones like Smith's Garage. Smith's Garage, Curtis Lumber.
Okay. Follow up.
Follow up from Senator Hilkert.
You mentioned, say, Holiday Inn, and you said that vendors provide us services for fiscal appreciation. Could you give an example of what services Holiday Inn provided?
Yeah. Hotel room service. So that we're able to make sure our sanctuary officers have a place to sleep.
Okay. Is there any other committee member wishing to be heard before I go back to Senator Hilkert?
Yes.
Okay, Senator Takor.
I understand that you're just saying it how it is. You have no stake in this. You're just giving us the information. So I just would like to, I think on Tuesday, I just would like to have a meeting with you on Tuesday and Comptroller James about this. I'm just really curious. I don't understand how this is legal in that sense.
Time
out. I'm sorry. I apologize, Deputy Comptroller. So was that a question because directed at the Deputy Comptroller, or was it just a discussion point, Senator Takor?
I guess it's a question of if we can have a meeting to discuss that on Tuesday with Comptroller James.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Deputy Comptroller. Deputy Comptroller, you have the floor.
Yeah, of course we can have a discussion about it. Of course. I'm willing to have a discussion about it.
Awesome. Okay, Senator Hilkert, back to you.
Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, would it be possible to release a formal statement? Provided by you, a written formal statement of what you've just told us.
Time out. Actually, I'm sorry. As presiding officer, I'm gonna stop because he's not here under testimony. He's not.
I'm so
okay. So maybe
here's my
question. Something so that way I can read it and understand it better.
Order. Listen, guys. I'm gonna call order. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Both of you guys need to. When I'm speaking, no one else should be speaking. Remember, I give you the time. You speak over the time. When someone is speaking, do not interrupt. Okay. All I was going to say was, as a presiding officer of this meeting, the Deputy Comptroller did come here to give us a training on the handbook, and now we are asking for a formal statement, okay? Requesting a formal statement is borderline subpoena, okay? And this is, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, isn't that like an ethics violation?
Wait, that was time out. Deputy Comptroller, you cannot speak if I do not call on you. Same goes for the senators, okay? All I'm trying to say is this is a matter that does seem like it needs to be looked into, but remember that we are the Appropriations Committee, and there are other facets. Senator Hilkert, I will let you rephrase if you want.
I'm okay, thanks.
Okay. All right.
Am I able to talk, Chairman?
You are, but first, Senator Zakor is wishing to be heard.
I might have to motion for this, but I would like to motion to move on from this so we can do the training.
You can. So there's a motion from Senator Takor to move on from this discussion back to the training. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Senator Sarwar. Is there any objection? So seeing that there is no objections, this motion carries. And I'm sorry, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, we're not going to talk about this area of the discussion anymore for the sake of where we are. So we are going to move on.
Am I able to still speak on the handbook?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All there was a discussion point to talk about the approved vendors and how the president directed you in such a manner. But we are now moving on to the Board of Finance. And I will just say to the committee that please, let's have a discussion about this. Let's follow up, because this is not the committee to deal with this business. And any information that would be subpoenaed from the Office of the Comptroller would be through the Board of Finance. Okay? Or the Oversight and Reform Committee, depending on what the situation is. But if you want to speak with me, you can. If you want to speak to the chair of the Senate, you can. And I know Deputy Comptroller Ortiz's door is always open. Okay? And that's just where we are. Senator Hilton, is that hand for the training?
No.
Okay, I'll look. Oh, you got it. Awesome. So speaking of the Board of Finance, the Board of Finance is an independent kind of board that oversees the Office of the Comptroller. And what's very important to know, it is made up of 7 undergraduate students, okay, 3 appointed by the president, 4 appointed by the chair of the Senate. And that means 3 straight up appointed, and the 4th one is the Appropriations chair. So I was already on the Board of Finance, but if I wasn't, me being appointed Appropriations would put me on the Board of Finance. Okay, so during the year, what we do is we create the budget, we oversee the Office of the Comptroller, and we approve the larger contracts. Now, this just talks about the financial literacy exam. Every signatory has to pass it. And this just goes over the general student association governing. Obviously, we have the executive, legislative, judicial, and we have the Office of the Comptroller. And there's obviously separate facets. You have the Board of Finance, Elections Commission, whatnot, but we are a 3-branch student government. Okay, this just talks about sending emails to the Office of the Comptroller. You know, if you it's a specific thing, don't just put in PR, put the number, the name, club, vendor name, and that will help your email be kind of more of an alert to the Office of the Comptroller. And again, a lot of stuff on viewpoint neutrality. I know a lot of you have heard a lot of it at this point. I will say my spiel and then I'll give it to the Deputy Comptroller. But basically, for appropriations, college Dems, college Republicans walk in, you got to treat them the same. Does that mean you give them the same amount of money? No. But if they request the same amount of money, then, you know, that's an anomaly. But for in terms of they can request 5,000, 4,500, even though it's different money, you need to still treat them the same. Is it towards their mission statement? Not do you agree or disagree with them? So that is very important for viewpoint neutrality. I will yield to you, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, if you want to speak more about it.
Yeah, I mean, just honestly, you guys, you read the handbook, you guys shouldn't have any issues with the test. I would just recommend you guys read the 500 section bylaws. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what you guys do this year. I was very active last year. I even went in person. I believe I might have met Chairman McCracken in an appropriations meeting, but you know, I respect the work that the Appropriations Committee does because you guys do give organizations an opportunity to be funded by SA, and I believe that's a big part of creating great ideas and organizations.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, and again, viewpoint neutrality is also, it's defined specifically in the 500 section. So Deputy Comptroller Ortiz is definitely right about that. We got some other stuff here. Comptroller has the right to freeze a budget if they break any rules. Off-campus events, obviously you need to inform the Office of the Comptroller and the Office of Student Activities. That's very, very important. Ticket sales, we've already talked about it. If you're going to sell tickets, it's got to be with university tickets. Let's see, anything else? This is just miscellaneous stuff. Oh, yes, if there's any flyer you want to make, you need to use the Student Association logo, okay? And let's see. Oh, this isn't the case anymore. It doesn't say your student activity fee at work anymore. So that doesn't have to be included, but your logo does. Okay. And if you're doing a giveaway, you have to advertise it. And then there's a final word from the comptroller if you ever want to read that. Okay. So, is there any questions on the financial literacy handbook that wants to be asked of me or the Deputy Comptroller?
Yes.
Go ahead, Senator Chakor.
It's just, I can ask multiple questions or no?
You can ask one to me and then ask another, answer. Go. Yeah.
Okay. How many questions is the test?
I can't disclose that.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't disclose that, man.
And then I was just gonna add, are we like I guess this is for Chairman McCracken. Are we all taking it like on the same day, like rescheduling?
No, so that's actually a good segue. So you are required to take it in the bylaws. I have asked that the Appropriations Committee takes it before we review our first request. Luckily, we haven't had a request for the past 3 weeks, but let me just pull up my Blackboard and I will show you guys how to do it, okay? This is how you access the exam. So I'm pulling up okay. So here's my, do you guys see my Blackboard? Okay, so you do want to go to community, correct? Deputy Comptroller Ortiz, you go to community.
So you go to community and then you click, so you click the Student Association Financial Training. And then you go ahead and click Financial Training. And this is the part some people have difficulty with. You click to launch, but then you're going to click page 2. So you're going to do this. You're going to fill this out, fill out the group information.
Yeah.
You're going to put appropriations. You're then going to go back to that. You're going to go back to that tab you were at. You're going to go to the right, click second page, take the test.
I don't want to click it because I think it's going to show the answer, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, so you need to give your net ID, and I think you guys all gave it to me. I think everyone gave it to me, so I think you guys have it. You guys being the office of the comptroller. So you hit community, should be right here. If it's not, contact the office of the comptroller. And then, yeah, when it asks for your name and your org, put in your name and then put SA Senate Committee on Appropriations or Appropriations Committee SA. Whatever you put should be good enough, but that will just let you know who you are. Then you take the exam. Is it timed, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz? Can you answer that?
Yes, it is timed.
It is timed, okay? So make sure that you feel confident. You can review this recording again, or you can review the handbook.
And the questions are randomized.
And the questions are randomized. Very nice. Okay, so, yep, that's that. Back to questions. Senator Core, do you have more questions? No, okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, I think we should all thank the Deputy Comptroller for being here. He was, I know, incredibly helpful, and I'm just very thankful that he was here. So I know we're virtual, but I'm going to give him some claps because he took the time out of his day to be at a committee meeting for us. So thank you so much. And I understand that we did have, obviously, I believe a critical issue did come up, no matter where you stand on it, or no matter what your thoughts on it was. So I understand that this is something we are going to have to look into again. So please, if anyone wants to talk to me about that, let me know, and we can bring that to who we have to bring that to, because I am concerned for that as well. Anyway, we're going through now. I did want to bring you guys through some old appropriations requests, but because of that discussion, we did go past 3 o'clock. Does any committee member want to do this now? It would only take 10 minutes, but does anyone want to see old appropriations requests? Senator Hooker, you have a question?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
No, I can. Yeah.
Okay. I had a spot on this agenda to review old appropriations requests. I was going to show you 2 of them and kind of show you what it looks like from our end and what's a good request and what's a bad request. I had this on the agenda because I thought we were going to get it done within an hour. I understand it's a Sunday and this went past the time of what I promised, but does anyone want to do it now, or do we want to table this business?
Let's do it now if you said it's only 10 minutes.
Okay. Yep, it's only 10 minutes. Senator Hilkert?
I don't know if that needs a second, but if it does,
No, it does. I saw you on mute, so I recognized you. So, and the only other person here that is eligible for a motion is Senator Sarwar. If you want to, you can. But I'm just going to pull this up. So this is what a request looks like when it gets to my desk. So when it gets to my desk, this is what I'm going to see. I'm going to see all these, basically these.
A point of personal privilege?
Yes, go ahead.
Am I writing this down? Or is this still, well, actually, yeah, it's technically under
Yes, this is under new business. This is under a new agenda item. So yeah, if you could, it would be helpful if you wrote down the main points of what I say. So go ahead. But I would rather you learn than write it down.
Yes.
So don't. I'm gonna upload these to the minutes. Don't write anything down. You need to learn. So here's actually an example. The president of the Student Association was I think she might still be the president of the African Student Association. So this is why you see her name there. But signatories can come to my involvement and apply. So these are all approved. These are all denied from last year, and these are pending. They came in way too late, so they never got a review from her appropriations chair. So, and then this is just, I guess that doesn't come up. Okay. Anyway, I was going to go to approve first, and one of the first ones was this submission from Mr. Garcia, and this was for men's club soccer. So this is what we get. We get their information, and we also get a list of all the members in their group. And I'm just going to pull it up. Well, can you guys see the members of the group right now or no? Okay, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
So we get members of the group because it's good to know affiliations. Like, check this out. Check this out. Whoa. Well, there's our chairman of the Senate. So it's very interesting to just know affiliations as an appropriations committee. So we do ask them to submit, who's on these clubs. I know for a fact for this bill last year, Senator Ramsarand did abstain, but we have a appropriations disclosure form because of a bill I sponsored last year, but we also have our own way of checking affiliations. Okay. You guys won't see this because whatever they put here, they will say to you in person in the meeting. But this is what's important: is if I approve it, I will give you the price quotes, the amount, and also the Excel spreadsheet outlining the costs. So I'm just going to pull this up real quick. Okay. So this is their costs. They had, I should have explained what this was. So basically, they were the men's club soccer team, and they expended their entire budget on their regular season. Okay. They got into the playoffs, or they got accepted into this tournament. So they needed more money because they didn't budget to make it to the playoffs. If you budget to make it to the playoffs and then you don't make it to the playoffs, you budgeted for nothing. So this is actually a really cool example of supplemental funding, because personally, I get hype. When a club's team walks in, they're like, we need more money. We're going to the sectionals or whatever. I'm like, yeah, all right. And I give them that money. I'm like, let's go, boys. Or girls. We had the women's club volleyball team. They went far last year. Or 2 years ago. They just kept coming back for money. We're like, keep going. And it's very hype as a U Albany student. But anyway, so this is the cost of a team to play in the tournament. So this was the cost, and this is the number of teams that were going. So that's the total.
Chairman McCracken, can you hear me?
Yeah, going on.
I just wanted to say, so essentially, with what I said, doesn't mean that going back to what was spoken about, doesn't mean that we don't use vendors that do. It's just that the vendor list didn't comprise of that individual. It wasn't my choice, guys.
I understand. Okay, Debbie, I understand. I think we all understand that aspect. We are moved on in our business, so I can talk to you about that as well. And I know any other committee member can go have a meeting with you. Vendor list is different. Approved vendor list is different from eligible vendors. Okay, but we are in a different agenda item, Deputy Comptroller Ortiz. So we're not talking about it anymore. I apologize, but here's basically the item breakdown, and then they also submitted a price quote. So price quote is proof of a purchase. So this was submitted from the tournament themselves, and this is where they showed. Here's the fee for each team. This is how many people are on a team. So they want to send 12 people to go. they can't tell us that, but we can fill in the blank. You know what I mean? But this is why they need to go, because for this tournament, they were sending 2 teams. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? They have to tell us the breakdown, and they have to tell us they have to show us proof of that this is the price. Okay? So that would be like if a group wanted to, get a budget for a Thanksgiving feast. And by the way, everyone has to be invited. That's a good question. Can any student come if they want to? Yes, that is a really important question to ask. And also, what you'll see, guys, is when groups come into the committee, I will ask questions, important questions, if you guys don't. So as a chair, I can ask questions to whoever comes in. So for the meetings, I'll probably be asking a lot of questions at first. Just learn from watching me ask questions, and that will help you a lot. But basically, again, you have the cost breakdown, and then you have proof of that cost. Okay? There's some other things we look for. Did you fundraise for this event? That's a really good question to ask. Another thing to ask is, was this the cheapest price you could find? For a tournament, there is no cheaper price. If it's the tournament, it's the tournament. But if they were going to DC and they gave us like a $4,000 hotel, we'd be like, all right, did you do competitive pricing? Did you find the cheapest option? Because when you're using taxpayer dollars or student activity fee dollars, you do not want to be going to the most incredible hotel you've ever seen in the world. You need to go on the trip like you're on a budget, okay? Another thing I wanted to show was just a bad form. So any questions about that? That was a really simple example, but I wanted to show it so you guys understood the simplicity of it. It's how much proof of cost is what you guys will see. And I will send this in an email when we actually get one. All right, that's not where I wanted to go. Oh, here we go. So now we're gonna go to denied, okay? So I could just click any of these and just find out why they were denied. So if I go right here, this was denied. This is one of our old chairmans, Owen Howard, and he always leaves a comment, and I have to as well, but it's preferred we send an email. But let's see. So we're going through, and they say they're a new group, and we just got recognized by the school. We never got funding for this semester and would like to be funded. Great. We would like to host an event that would help us grow as a dance team. So here we go. Look how much money they're requesting. Does anyone know why that's a problem? Does any committee member want to say, speak up and say why this is a problem? For multiple reasons.
They didn't want to hit 3,000 because there's a reason for that.
Well, let's go back. They are a new group that just got recognized. So they do not have a current budget through the Appropriations Committee. That's number one. How much money can they request up to?
Yeah, that's a little above 250, or I guess 400 at the time.
Well, it was 250 at the time.
Yeah, it was 250 at the time. All right.
Yeah, and look how much they're requesting. There's another thing wrong with this. Does anyone see anything else wrong with
the comma's in the wrong place.
Maybe not. Or they just added a mystery 9. Senator Hooker, did you want to say something? But yeah, so that's just an automatic denial right there. But just to see the price quotes.
Didn't even notice that.
What, the extra 9? But here's some of the items, and you guys will all get these. Check this out. They really had a whole event set up. They had all these price quotes for these tent accessories. So, it looks great. It looked like it would have been a great event, but you're not allowed to do that as a new group. So I'm going to pull up the Excel spreadsheet breakdown. My fantasy team is blowing up today. Just want to make that on the record. Touchdowns keep popping up on my phone right now. So this is actually good. This is actually a good thing. The fact that they had all this put out, this is something you would have access to, okay? So let's say they come up and they said let's say this is not a new and unfunded org. This is an org that already has a budget. We would ask how much do their budget already have. If their budget already had let's say that much, that's a problem. You want to know why that's a problem? Because they're requesting more money on top of their current budget. So their supplemental or their extra money would be less or more, it would be more than what their actual budget is. That's a problem. Can we ask them how many people are in their group? No. What can we ask them?
How much per person?
Yes. What's the price per head? Let's say they say our price per head is, we expect 50 people to come. Okay? That's a $60 price per head. That means every person that goes there will get a $60 benefit for being there when it comes to food, when it comes to, check this out, the DJ, the venue, everything that they experience there, it will be a $60 benefit. So that's not too bad, but let's say that there was only 25 people going. That's a problem. Do you want to know why? Because every student activity fee paying student pays $110 a semester, and now they're getting that whole thing back in benefit plus $10 for just one event. That's too expensive for an event considering how many people are going. So we cannot judge a group by how popular they are, but if their event is expended for just a small amount, that is something that we can take into consideration. And as you probably can understand, the less people that go, the higher the price per head. Okay, so this is actually a really good breakdown. And if we go back to whatever that doc was, their price quotes did look like they were matching up very nicely, but they were a new group and they cannot do that. Okay, so again, they're a new and unfunded org and they're applying for this would not get to your guys' desk, but I'm just trying to show you because I am not going to be here forever. And I know we have young senators in here. We also have senators that care. So I did want to show you guys kind of what I'm going through here for, reasoning behind what to accept and what not to accept. Okay, does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. Again, this is a committee where experience is your friend, not lectures. I have had 3 lectures now for these past 3 meetings, but it's very important that once the work starts, we know what we're doing. So I wanted to show you guys that, but every time a request comes in, you will learn through experience, and it's going to be a very enriching experience, and I'm happy that we took the time for this. So that's all I have for that. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, so we are now going to go back to the agenda and we are going to close this thing out. Okay, so closing remarks, Senator Jakor.
Yes, I just want to give a huge shout out to Deputy Comptroller Ortiz for coming. Yes, claps. Thank you for being so transparent and informative. This is really going to help us. I hope you didn't feel attacked at any point. We're just asking questions. We understand. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again. And I look forward to taking the test, as Senator Hilkert said earlier.
Okay, and my closing remarks would be the same as thank you to the Deputy Comptroller. I consider him a friend. I consider him a respectful colleague, a respectful peer of mine, and I've had the great pleasure of knowing him. And it was to no surprise that he was willing to come here today. I think he was planning on coming even before he knew we were going over the handbook. So the fact that he was, he's diligent, he cares, he's integrity, and he does have transparency. So that is all correct words. I will say though, as a senator, because I was the chair, again, he's a public administrator. He does his job. He does it well. But for the president, and I'm going on record for saying that, for the president to direct something, if this is all 100% true, this is concerning to me because I don't think political views of vendors should be taken into consideration, okay, unless it is a direct view that would prevent a student group from even approaching them. Okay, but in terms of just do they support the president or not, I'm ashamed that this was even brought into the conversation. And I do think if this committee wants to follow up, they should. And if there is more to look into, the reason I did stop you, Senator Hilker, and I feel bad, is requesting a statement from the deputy comptroller at this time would be something that would be evidence for an investigation. If you want to ask him on the side to email you what he said, he has the right to say no, right to say yes. But during Robert's rules, during this training, I didn't think that was necessary to ask. So that is why I denied that. You can agree, you can disagree, but I stand firmly behind what I said. So that was my closing remarks. Please, everybody, take the test this week. Text me, call me if you have any questions, not while you're taking the test, but text me or call me beforehand if you have any questions, and let me know. If you bomb it the first time, don't just take it again, okay? Meet with the comptroller, find out what happened. You do get 2 attempts, and technically they do have a passing grade, but the bylaws do outline us in particular that we only have to get it 80%. But I would prefer if you passed by today's standards, but if you don't, the bylaws are there to save you. Does any committee member want to be heard in the closing remarks? Okay, we are now going into closing roll. Senator Takor, are you present?
Present.
Senator Sarwar, are you here? Well, excuse me, Senator Fang, okay, is actually not present still, but he did text me, and it does seem like an emergency. So we wish the best to him. So if you could, Senator Takor, reflect in the opening roll and the closing roll that he is excused. Okay, thank you, Ranking Member. And we're now going to Senator Sarwar.
Present.
Senator Hilkert.
Present.
And I am present as well. And it can be reflected that the Deputy Comptroller is a non-committee member still present. Okay? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn from Senator Hilkert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Senator Sarwar. Any objections? Seeing none, you can reflect that in the minutes, Senator Takor, that those were the 2 motioners and the seconder, and this meeting is adjourned at 3:40 p.m. Gavel to the desk. Okay? All right, I'm going to close the recording.